Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Crypto Hot Seat, the only interview show that matters in crypto. Brought to you, as always, by tokenmetrics.com. Today, we are joined by Mr. Mitchell Amador. How am I pronouncing your last name correctly, Amador? Is that right?
Yeah, that's close enough. That works.
Mitchell is the CEO of a company called Immunify. They're very interested in crypto bugs and squashing them, and there's a whole platform associated with that people can use. We're going to talk about that with Mitchell in a minute. But first of all, Mitchell, we're recording this in early February, and the news of the Wormhole Network hack is pretty fresh. So I'm curious, what was your experience of that news? How avoidable was this situation? And I have other questions after that. But you're a DeFi security guy. Wormhole, go.
Okay, well, there's a lot that went on there, right? So the Wormhole case is kind of the latest in a string of bridge attacks. And bridges have been in the news. Poly Network was a bridge attack. Thorchain's hack was a bridge attack. There was the Polygon situation that we dealt with, where we had to prevent multiple serious attacks, were all bridge attacks as well. So it's just, I wasn't surprised that that was a really hot target. It just goes to show how difficult it is to secure this kind of infrastructure under the best of conditions. And remember, Wormhole is run by Jump. Jump is one of the most sophisticated teams in the space. They understand security very well, and even they struggle to protect this infrastructure. I was very entertained, though, by their bounty policy, right? Offering the 10 million bug bounty for return of funds. I'm looking forward to the day when people, proactively offer those and mitigate these events from happening in the first place.
You're talking about, hey, we have a bug bounty before we even know there's a problem versus after the problem. Oh, here's some money to help us fix this embarrassing situation.
Right. It's like, okay, well, it's obviously worth it to give a giant bounty to get the money back. But, this could have all been prevented. It's incredibly harmful. It takes up so much team time and energy. And
so how much of this stuff is avoidable? Will there always be somebody motivated enough to find a flaw in some protocol so that they can actually get money out of basically hacking for money except instead of a bank account, you're taking advantage of some oversight, right? How much of this stuff is avoidable, and will there always be room for this opportunity?
Sure. Well, it's kind of a tricky question because it's not simple. The answer is, it's never going to be completely avoidable. There's always going to be these kinds of attacks because some people will always prefer to take the money. That being said, it is usually avoidable. Last year we dealt with, I think, 166 critical vulnerability cases at Immunify that ended up being resolved. Any one of those would have been a hack, right? So, we can definitely avoid most of those cases. That's, I think, more than a 90% success rate for those projects. The vast majority of them have not been hacked so far. But some parties will always choose to steal. And so we have to prepare for a world that's inherently adversarial.
Yeah. Well, this is, and please correct the pronunciation of your name. Did I say Immunify at the beginning and it's actually Immunify?
Yeah, we say Immunify, but vowels.
Anyway, that I think that sets a nice little bridge for us to talk a little bit specifically about Immunify here. So for anybody who doesn't know, Mitchell's company raised about $5.5 million late last year to help people squash crypto bugs in a funding round led by Electric Capital. Mitchell, what is a bug bounty, and how do you build a business around bug bounties? Talk in general about what Immunify is about, man.
Sure. So the core value that we provide to all of you guys is we prevent our customers from getting hacked. So users such as your listeners here are going to be spared from losing their money. And we do that by having an army of white hat hackers basically comb through our customer base's code to find vulnerabilities and disclose them responsibly to us in advance of any exploitation. These vulnerabilities are then passed directly to the customer, so the customer can be like, oh, that's bad. Look at all that money at risk. Let's fix that. And consequently, for their good deeds, the hackers, the white hat hackers, are rewarded with a bug bounty and thanks for their service.
Sure.
So that's the simple version.
Fair enough. Yeah. How do you vet a white hat hacker?
Well, they kind of self-qualify, because
Okay.
by the very act of disclosure, he has given away his most valuable asset. He has said, I believe in the rightness of this and my actions so much, and that you will treat me in good faith, that I will give you all the information up front. So by the time anyone discloses, they've already completely qualified themselves as
Gotcha.
almost certainly a good actor. Now, projects may or may not have that same belief, but then to assume afterwards, oh, how do we know if this is really a good actor as he has given you the keys to the kingdom? It's like, wow. And what more could he have possibly done? Sent over his passport and his social security number?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. A new question is how big does a vulnerability have to be for a white hat hacker to keep it to themselves?
It depends. Look, when you actually get the cases, it's really not a monetary question for most
Hmm.
people. Okay, you'll have hackers who will, or I should say attackers rather, who will take even small amounts of money that's available to them, even if they could get a bounty. And you'll have attackers, or I should say white hats, who will disclose even if there is no reward, right? Even if there is no reward, they're just going to disclose responsibly because that's what they believe in. The bigger factors that drive disclosure and how to monetize this asset is what are all the available options and what does that individual person want? Does this person want to be recognized for their actions? Do they want to be famous? Do they just want to
Hmm.
do a good deed? Right? Do they want to make some return on it? If so, how much? If as long as we at Immunify cover all of those aspects, right? We make our white hats famous. We help our white hats get access. If they want to go to university, we'll help them go to university. If they want a great job, we'll help them get a great job. Whatever it is. We make sure that they're recognized for their work and we provide support and venues for them to learn further, right? We cover all of these angles so that when you come to the situation, the only people who should ever be keeping the exploit to themselves are the people who only care about money, which is a very small portion of that population,
Hmm.
oddly enough. Most people don't want to be thieves.
I hope so. I hope so.
Dark mind there, Dylan. Well, think
A
about it
little
from your
bit. It happens.
perspective.
Come on.
It's look, everybody has the thought. That's fine, but you get a point of diminishing returns after the first $1 million or so, right? And we
Mhm.
are offering multi-million-dollar bounties. You can go see right now. We have a $3.3 million bug bounty for Olympus now, right? Let's say you could steal 6 instead of the 3, but is it really that much of a material difference to your life? What are you going to do? Buy an extra Lambo?
Yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying. 3 million earned legitimately because you're smart is probably more interesting than 6 million stolen.
Precisely. Where you constantly have the threat of enforcement hanging over your head, where you can't spend that money easily, where someone can always chase you down. It's not a great way to live. You have to
Yeah, yeah.
really care about money if you want to pull that trigger.
I forget the specific hack. This was a few years ago at this point, but the FBI or some law enforcement tracked down these badass hackers who had stolen a bunch of money. They were in Tuvalu, tiny island nation. Is it where? In somewhere in the Pacific, Micronesia,
Mm-hmm.
middle of nowhere. They had to drop off the face of the planet. Is my point, and they still got caught.
Yeah, it's not a great life, you know. And
uh,
most people
so
would choose something different if only they were given a credible alternative. That's what we provide.
uh-huh. So what's the user experience actually like if I'm logging into Immunify to make money? Basically, is it does it look like a job board? How does it compare to a job board?
Not at all. So, a bug bounty program is just an offer for purchase, right? When I put that up, I say, I want to buy this asset, right? I want to buy this kind of asset, a vulnerability, and it should meet these types of requirements, right? It should be, affecting these types of web assets or contracts. These are specifically the ones I care about, and it should have this type of impact. It should make these funny things happen. But by the very definition, I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't have the bounty program.
Uh-huh.
And so it's open ended from there. And I just say, if you bring me this type of asset, I will pay you in these currencies up to this much. Please, everybody, go hunt. The white hat
So
comes along and they read all that, right? And from there, they immediately start diving in to the code bases in question. Only when they
Looking
find
for
something.
exploits. Yeah.
Correct. It's only when they find something do they need to return to us, log in to Immunify, and begin going through the whole disclosure process. Asking, okay, what asset is in scope there? What's the impact or the set of impacts? Can you provide proof of that? Right? Are there any notes that you'd like to add? Do you have any other requests that you should make to the project or clarification so that they fully understand what's going on? And at that point, it goes through. They hit the enter button. Great. The report is now disclosed to the customer, and it creates a report where we, them, and the customer are all involved. And so at every stage of the process, as the hacker is demonstrating that their exploit is real and important and worthy of payment, we are there to support and protect them in case anything should go wrong to make sure the deal gets back on track.
Yeah, man. So could you talk a little bit about the background that you have that leads you to be so intimately involved with such a technical company? Clearly, you've got computer science coming out your ears, but what else goes into I don't know, your education? How do you come to be a guy doing this kind of very specific? I mean, it is computer security, but it's DeFi security specifically. So to me, it seems like you're specializing within a specialization.
Sure.
Could you talk about your background, please?
I mean, our work is very specific, but I built my chops not on the technical side of crypto, but on the the transaction side, the building the product side, the going to market, the dealing with all of these concerns. So I was an early team member at Steemit, where I was one of the lead executives who built up the entirety of the community there and drove it. And that was like, we discovered all the classical crypto problems the hard way, right? How do you get people to trust the tools that you're building? What kind of technical solutions do you need there? What kind of social solutions? The real problems with getting early adoption for crypto products was not really the technical side, even though we did have those problems. Our UX was very poor in the early days. It was really the social side. What's the value of this? Can you trust this system? Is this worth doing? We did something very similar at Santiment, right? When we were creating data feeds products. I was one of the founding team members of Santiment. It was the first institutional data feeds business in crypto, I would say. And the major thing there is like you're selling secrets. There's another common theme, right? I'm in the business of providing and disclosing secrets today. We were dealing with secrets then too. But you have to make sure that everybody can trust and validate that secret, that they have assurances that those things are worth paying for. So, it's all been this being in the environment where you have to create trust around extremely important pieces of information, where all the parties don't trust one another. They don't believe in one another. And you have to create the conditions for that. That is the expertise working on all these projects for so many years. It's been like, 8 years I've been working in this space full time.
Right
it's
on.
that has prepared me for this.
Sure. So what can you tell us? What's coming up? What does the future hold for Immunify? What can we look forward to in 2022?
It depends who you are, right? For one thing,
through the lens of your company, man.
Through the lens of my company, okay. Well, from the perspective of your users, you can count that we're going to save a lot more money. Over the last year, we've saved about $20 billion from exploitation and theft, conservatively. So I expect to do at least that, if not much more, over the coming year. And this is the most important of all the value that we will deliver to our customers, because it will help keep the space moving forward. It is a critical function. Mm-hmm. But for us, the thing that we're most excited about is a dramatic expansion of our product. So we started this business with the thesis that these bounties would need to get huge in order to protect the space, and that they would get huge. And now we've started, seeing that come to fruition, right? When we started this business, there was $4 million in bug bounties across the entirety of crypto. And now there's 88 million on Immunify alone, 22 times the size of the whole market with us alone. And I'm looking forward to multiplying that, hopefully by 3 to 5x over the course of this year. So, that's really what has my team excited. But even bigger than that, even bigger than just realizing our mission is creating what we consider to be the last market for exploits in the history of crypto, creating an environment where the most secretive, high value assets, pieces of information in the history of the world can be bought and sold safely to good faith actors. And by doing so, protect the common good. We are on that track to build out all that infrastructure. That's probably the most exciting thing. Something like that has never been built.
What does bank security have to learn from you, and what do you have to learn from bank security? Established legacy business. The security associated with legacy finance. What do you have to learn from that, and what can they learn from you?
There's a lot we can learn from bank security. Okay. From having extremely simple and yet restrictive access control rules to using both security via transparency and security via opacity, to conducting regular and recurring gap analyses and audits. That's something crypto is only really beginning to get into as they start taking security seriously. Whereas every bank worth their salt has their own internal security team and is contracting outside parties every single quarter to come and do internal security work. Like they will spend some single digit percentage of all of their revenues per year, a very large amount, in order to invest in the security of their digital infrastructure. So I need more of that. I need to bring that mentality, that understanding of the preventative need for security spend into crypto and into DeFi especially. And as to what they can learn from us is there's nothing more powerful than having transparency to good faith parties. And there's, after you have that, the next major thing is you need trust assurances that are nearly unbreakable. Today the banks really take advantage of the security community because they can, because there's no way for those parties to monetize it. But as a result, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot because they are mitigating access to a workforce that could be, 2 or 3 orders of magnitude larger than it currently is, protecting their digital infrastructure. And as a result, you see, online bank robberies, you see manipulations of SWIFT, you see spear phishing attacks that don't need to happen. Yeah. And that's a lesson they could learn from us in crypto, where we have taken that to the ultimate limit.
Right on. Well, my last question for you isn't so much a question, but I want to share a fun fact about you. You are a dual heritage person. You're a Canadian guy, but you're operating out of Portugal. You've got Portuguese citizenship. What's my favorite fact about Portugal and crypto is that there's no crypto taxes. Could you talk a little bit about what it's like to take advantage of that? Like you're living it right now.
Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that in terms of how the tax regime works, right? Like even if you could take advantage of that, and lots of people do, in general, it may not be the wisest move, especially if you're dealing with large amounts of capital. You should find, it's more nuanced than it appears. That being said, obviously, I've been overjoyed to discover that, my heritage, my patrimony, has proven to be the crypto epicenter of Europe. I really lucked out on that one. So it's a blast. And for those of your readers who have never heard of Lisbon, who have never seen Portugal, I imagine many of them have heard of it by now. It really is an amazing environment for people to do work here. You have tons of adoption of crypto in the space. You have an amazing country filled with lovely people. And you have an incredible gathering of crypto people. You can go to Porto and you're going to find world-class talent. You can go to Lisbon and you're going to find world-class talent. You can go to the Algarve and you're going to find world-class talent. All, amidst this minor paradise. So in that way, the crypto scene in Portugal is just absolutely amazing. Canada may have equipped me to be a professional, but Portugal has made life worth living.
I see. Canada was your gasoline, and now Portugal is the fire. Something like some tortured like metaphor like that.
Some tortured version of that. The problem in Canada is that it's good for work. Why? Because it's cold, and half the things there are trying to kill you. So, you really learn to work hard in that kind of environment. But in Portugal, life is just good. Things grow on the trees. You can just go outside and eat from the trees. It's crazy. Completely different environment. Very lovely to live in.
Right on. Mitchell, thanks for taking a little bit of time to talk to us about DeFi in general and your company in particular. Where can people go to learn more about you and your company? What's the website? Why don't you throw it out
Sure.
there?
So the website is immunify.com, and I'll just put it in the chat here.
The word immune with phi on the end.
Exactly. And people can follow us on Twitter at Immunify. We'll often give commentary on events. So if you want to hear about how certain hacks work or what just recently happened in the space, we're happy to help with that. We also create the industry's leading resources for education. So if you're keen to get into the security scene in DeFi, we have all the means to help you do that. Or if you just want to say hello and help support us doing our good work to make sure everybody stays safe, that is also most welcome, and we need all the help we can get.
All right, very good. That's Mitchell Amador of Immunify. Thanks for taking a little bit of time with us today.
My pleasure.